It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, and yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. Another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Franson, Jason Walker, back again. Both of us were out good chunks of the week last week.
Yeah, I went down to Vegas. Eric went to somewhere.
I was in San Diego. Weird backstory on that. My mother-in-law announces to us that she's getting remarried, and they want to get married in Southern California, San Clemente. And the date lines up with fall break for our kids. And we're like, okay, we'll go support you in getting married, and we'll travel out there and be part of the family and all that stuff with all the wedding festivities and whatnot. And then more family members say they're going to do the same thing. And suddenly they're starting to realize this is becoming a bigger and bigger ordeal than they originally planned. And they didn't have very much money to do this. And so they're like, you know what, we're going to cancel this. We'll just do something on the down low, just something private, just a few of us. And they announce this, but we've already booked our tickets and secured our hotel. And so we're like, well, I guess we're going to Southern California anyway. And they got married in Arizona, of all places. So,
like how Eric takes time on his radio show to call out his mother-in-law.
Good for her. Happy for her. She got married. Seems like a nice man.
I kid. We got to get to a lot of these texts. We want to shift our focus eventually toward men's basketball. It was a nice game on Friday. Good palate cleanser. I don't know if you want to go back and rewatch that instead of the football game. I probably will be doing that. I think they just stream the game, and you can find it on YouTube probably. So very, very easy to find. But yeah,
it didn't. I guess there were some issues early on about
were there
accessing the game. But I was talking to JD on Saturday, and he said there was a bit of a struggle bus early on with how to find the game because it was there and then it disappeared, and they had to find it at some other means. But I guess they found it eventually.
We can relate.
Yeah,
unfortunately, streaming issues.
Yes.
Now let's start with 5452. Says Petras could have 15 more touchdowns if he would actually go through his reads and see his receivers who are wide open downfield instead of staring at the intended receiver the entire time. Telegraphs every throw. Yeah, I do think, I'll be honest, I think he's better at that than Bryson Barnes was because he lasered in. I've at least seen Spencer Petras progress through his different reads, but there are times where he telegraphs his passes, and honestly, that's where he's throwing his interceptions, is he telegraphs it and they read him like a book.
Yeah.
Almost happened against New Mexico. He threw it right into the hands of a defender, and he just dropped it. Kind of the same thing he did against UNLV when Woodard. He got an interception, basically on the same thing. Said, I'm going to throw it to this guy, and he threw it and got it picked, and almost picked against New Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah, he does have some of that, telegraphs things a little bit, but look, I'm surprised we're this deep into the season and the body of work that Spencer Petras has put together, and people are still calling for Bryson Barnes.
Yeah, I think it's calming down because I think it's really hard for people to call out a guy who's averaging 340 yards passing over his last 4 games. And so the last remnants are people who are just Bryson Barnes fans and are just really hoping that he gets to play. And they're just assuming that if your team isn't doing good, you just always blame it on the quarterback.
Yeah, and look, I get it. The Aggies are 1-6, so everything's up for review, right? Nothing should be guaranteed. But why do you want to pull the guy that's giving you the best chance to win?
Yeah.
At least on offense.
Yeah, that's as far as the best player at that position, it's Spencer Petras. And I don't think it's particularly close.
Yeah.
Because Spencer was kind of shaky in the first few snaps against Robert Morris and then that game against Temple. And at that point, it was okay, it's a little interesting. Then you watch him play against Boise and UNLV, 2 very tough opponents in their own right. And it's yeah, it's Spencer Petras. I saw Bryson Barnes. We're not going back to that.
Yep.
Bryson Barnes is adding 0 that Spencer Petras can't already do. And I know you can talk about the running game, but Bryson Barnes did not impact the game with his running.
Right.
They saved for one play in like 2.5 games, and it was against the FCS opponent. He didn't add anything running against USC or Utah. I know Spencer Petras doesn't add anything with his running, but that's not necessarily his strength.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to criticize Bryson Barnes too much, but Spencer Petras is clearly the number one quarterback.
I think Barnes is a fine quarterback, but I just think Petras is the better quarterback.
Yeah.
5001. Do you know if USU is in an active search right now in the search for a head coach? It's rough spots for current coaches, but it's realistic that it'll be a clean out. It'll be a clean out totally of current coaches, and I think they know that as well.
Active search? No. Some kind of search? Yes. And as far as clearing out the assistants and all that, yeah, very likely. Sometimes there's holdovers. That does happen, but it's like a random coach here or a coach maybe has local ties and they kind of
keep recruiting ties going through. You don't want to lose all of that.
It's possible there will be some holdovers. That's why I hold out hope that Cooper Bassett sticks around, but you never know. But yeah, they're putting out the feelers and contacting agents and things like that. As far as an official search, no, but they're looking.
The coaching world knows there's an open position at Utah State.
Yeah, it's like how Danny Sprinkle basically already had the Washington job in like January.
Yeah, except this is blatantly obvious and has been since end of August.
Basically.
2122. It has been so nice of the Utes to lose 3 games in a row while USU has been losing also.
Yeah, it's a little bit of
they changed their OC.
Yeah, they did.
He stepped down.
He resigned. Which I guess, Utah's offense has basically only been good if they had Cam Rising, and Cam Rising apparently can't be healthy. That's just apparently one of the laws of the universe.
Right.
Poor guy.
Gets another year of eligibility if he wants it.
Universe hates him and is trying to make it up to him at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's true.
That or they just love watching the yearly Cam Rising is now healthy, another breakout season. They enjoy reading those articles so much, the football gods do, apparently.
Right. Here's another charade. 7241. Do you think this 2024 team would lose to a Brent Guy era team if they could play head to head?
I mean, at least this team can score.
This team can score. That team really struggled to score. This team would win in a shootout.
It'd be like it might be similar to the New Mexico game or the Temple game because Temple has a horrible offense and they scored 45 points.
Yeah.
So it'd be competitive. I don't know if I didn't watch many of those Brent Guy teams, so I couldn't tell you if they would have won or not. But I know this team is not great. It's weird in that they're just so bad on defense that it doesn't matter. They have a pretty decent offense. They still go 1-6.
Yeah. We can't talk about some of the dynamic things that are happening on offense because of the bad things on defense. 7994. This year was not fair to Coach Nate, and I hope he lands a good job somewhere. In the meantime, USU should be narrowing the list of potential head coaches to their top 5. That way, they'll be able to announce the new head coach as soon as possible after the end of the season.
Yeah, I think they should be able to pull off having a coach hired in December, which will be important. Not going to a bowl game, and then having had the whole season to figure out as far as like official interviews and contract negotiations, things like that. That stuff will take place in December. That stuff won't be happening right now. So, I think getting a coach hired as soon as possible, they'll have the time to narrow down who they really want, and then they'll do all the official negotiating in December. So, I think they'll have somebody figured out for the most part pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of tough right now how much still deep into the season we are. But once you start to get into November, then that becomes a little bit more clear about who you should be looking at and targeting and who's available to show interest.
Yeah.
Through their agents, of course. Let's see, 9310. Air Force played bigger. Get out of here.
Yeah, I know that was me when I talk about them playing bigger. And like I said at the end of the hour, Air Force maybe not actually bigger, but they play big. And that's the key, is that physicality. And that's the point I was getting at, is teams playing a lot more physical in the Mountain West than they do in the Sun Belt. And so Blake just wasn't ready for that. And that's why he struggled against Air Force in a lot of cases. Did win several times against them, so I should give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But just seemed to really struggle against teams when they played bigger. And that's why I talk about, having a head coach that knows how to win in the Mountain West. Blake didn't necessarily have the style that worked in the Mountain West, and you got to find a coach who's able to do that.
4781. Eric is probably the first host to ever call out his mother-in-law on air, taking it to a new level.
Oh, he is not the first. I can tell you that. He is not the first.
It's all love to my mother-in-law. I'm very happy for her. This new marriage.
I've heard actual call-outs, not Eric joking around.
9315. Let's see here. Why can't... Oh, I guess there's another one here. Will PAC money help us in football, like pay more for the coach so we can dream a little bigger, like $1.2 million for head coach starting pay? And then why can't USU follow Utah's model with firing? Let them resign.
Sometimes they don't resign when you need them gone. That's also Utah Jazz model for letting go of coaches. Is they haven't fired a coach like ever. Have they ever actually fired a coach?
The Jazz?
Yeah. They didn't technically fire Ty Corbin.
They didn't fire Jerry. They didn't fire
Frank, did they?
Frank.
I don't know who was the coach before, if they even had one.
Well, the coach before would have been under different ownership.
Yeah.
Who was
and
it? Battistone? No, or was he the owner before? I can't even remember.
And Quinn quit, so they didn't fire him. They were offering extensions.
Yeah.
So. But, yeah, as far as helping pay for a coach, yeah, that's going to be a big thing. Like, they're going to have that money, for football and basketball. It'll be harder for teams to steal the head coach. It'll still happen, but it'll be a little harder and a little less likely. And coaches will be a little more incentivized to stick around. So you might have a coach for like 6-7 years instead of 2 or 3 or 1.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the average lifespan for a coach at Utah State is just over 3 years. In the last 40 years, the average lifespan for a coach at Utah State is 3 years. It's barely over 3.
Like with football?
Yeah, with football.
I was about to say with basketball, like it's kind of skewed.
Yeah, basketball, yeah, Stu Morrill kind of changed the
he's
standard
upping,
there.
He's upping the average.
Yeah. 0366 has, looks like I skipped over one, but I go to 0366. Yeah, Spencer Petras has had great stats, but when the game has mattered, he has shown he's turnover prone. His fumble and interceptions caused the UNLV game to get out of hand too quickly. When he had a chance at a game-winning drive against New Mexico, he throws a pick. Barnes has the only win. His other starts were against 2 very good defenses. Why not give him a chance to see if anything changes? Don't hate Petras, but he hasn't won a game.
Barnes played half a game, and they beat Robert Morris. Like, I'm not going to... As far as the other points, I'll give you that Spencer Petras has played somewhat poorly in the clutch, like when it mattered. Like the UNLV turnovers, that's a problem. The game-winning drive against New Mexico, throws a pick. They had a chance to win that game. Also, it was him on the QB sneak. He couldn't get it. So, like, that's, those are good points. Like, I get that. But Barnes hasn't done anything to impress me at all. Like, he's been okay. Like, if you had to start him, he'd be okay. Like, he did all right against, like, I was genuinely impressed with what he did against Utah. Some of the things he did against that defense, the fact that he was actually willing to make some ballsy throws. But in a lot of those, it was wide receivers making really good plays when he put the ball in their area. They made some really good plays there. So, like, Bryson Barnes is workable, but he's not adding anything. Spencer Petras has played really well. Statistically, he's been far more efficient than Bryson Barnes as far as completion percentage. There are problem areas with, some of his turnovers, particularly in that UNLV, because that really put him on the wrong foot. But I just don't see, based on what I saw with Bryson Barnes versus what I see with Spencer Petras, I don't see Bryson Barnes adding anything more. Yes, he was technically the quarterback when they beat Robert Morris, but give Spencer Petras as much credit for that, given he played, a quarter and a half there.
Look, the quarterback position is the position that draws the most attention and the most criticism. I get that. But that position is not why Utah State is losing games.
Yeah.
I have to get on my soapbox again, and I will continue to stand on it. I don't know why we still talk about the quarterback position. I know Utah State's 1-6, but it's not because of quarterback play.
Yeah, Bryson Barnes isn't changing anything.
It is not because of the quarterback that Utah State has lost these games.
If you had Tom Brady in a quarterback, they'd probably still only be 2-5.
Is he perfect? No. But he is the best chance Utah State has on offense. I will keep repeating it as long as you guys keep bringing it up, I will keep repeating it and standing on that. I will die on that hill. But the reason Utah State is losing their games is not because of the quarterback. Has he thrown some interceptions? Yes. Did Bryson Barnes throw interceptions? Yes. But we love to focus on the quarterback. That is not the reason Utah State is 1-6.
Yeah.
The Aggies have scored a ton of points on offense. Right? Every week they're doing more and more. They're scoring more points in offense progressively every week now. That is not the reason they're losing these games.
It's because their defense is giving up 43.5 points a game.
That is why they're losing football games. It's not because of the quarterback.
I just don't know how you can complain when your offense scores 45 points. And again, I get it. Peters ain't perfect, but He
presses the ball down the field better than Barnes. He's more on point than Barnes. He gets the ball out quicker than Barnes. He finds the dynamic wide receiver better than Barnes did.
He's been sacked less.
Yes.
Barnes can move, but Peters has been sacked less than Barnes. I should maybe double check that stat before I go on record with it. But off the top of my head, Peters has been sacked less than Barnes was, giving some leeway to the fact that Barnes had to face USC and Utah defenses, but still, Peters had to go against Boise State, who was leading the country in sacks.
In the country with sacks.
It's not like he faced a ton easier. So again, I wish we get off talking about the quarterback, because that's, as Eric keeps saying, that's not the issue we should really be talking about.
That is the least interesting aspect of why Utah State is losing.
Yeah,
but people want to keep bringing it up. So yeah, I'm going to get animated and I'm going to get frustrated because you guys won't get off it. Because there are other issues at play here. A defensive system, guys not being able to tackle properly. They just want to shove the offensive players instead of tackle them at the legs. They want to just bump them in the shoulders. The defensive scheme, the lack of intensity and urgency in the second half. I mean, there's a whole list of reasons that we should be talking about why this team is 1-6. And none of them have to do with the quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback is the last reason why Utah State is struggling.
Okay, I'll step down off my...
All right, we're going to get some of these texts. 0366.
By the way, that other text was from 6057. Sorry, I misidentified that. So this is from 0366.
It says, has Temple won a game since beating the Aggies? No, they haven't.
Yes, they beat Tulsa this last week.
Oh, they did? Okay, never mind. I'm wrong. That's the third time that's happened today.
They beat Tulsa.
They hadn't won last time I checked.
Right.
So
they lost to UConn and Army. And they must have had a bye in there somewhere, but they did beat Tulsa.
How many points did they score?
20. 20-10.
Still struggling on offense. That's their third game with 20 points.
Yeah, because they scored 20 against Coastal Carolina.
They lost 29-20.
They only scored 14 against Army, and they scored 20 against UConn.
And they had 0 and 7, 13 in some of the other games, and 45 against the Aggies. Again, it's the
Utah
defense.
State defense, good for what ails you.
2122 saying, I hear former Ute OC is available. Kind of worked the first time the Aggies took a former Ute coordinator. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But then again, he's resigning because the offense is really bad. Is that
what you want?
Maybe. I don't know. Sometimes you take failed Power 5 coordinators and they turn out to be really good in the G5. Who knows?
True.
And like I said, sometimes it just takes a new spot to make things work. But yeah, I'd probably go somewhere else.
Yeah. 5773. Turn on the full court press and hear Jason and Eric are back. Thank you. Glad you guys are back. Sending this from my therapist's couch. Every time I close my eyes, I see Ajay, JD. Spencer's turnovers and shortcomings wouldn't be such a big deal if the Aggies weren't giving up 49.3 points to their opponents.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue is that, it's the defense. We'd be maybe talking about Petrus's mistakes being the narrow line between being 4-3 and 5-2 versus maybe being 6-1 if they had a defense that was, really, really good. It would be Petrus's performance isn't about being a ceiling breaker. That's the issue. But again, want to get off that topic.
Yes. Let's see, 9315. Let's see, the reason we can't win is no run stop.
Yeah, no run stop, no pass stop, no quarterback stop. Just keep going down the list.
Yeah, whatever it is on defense, insert can't stop. 4446 texting in. Don't talk about the QB and talk about our crappy defenses. You guys can control the topics.
We do.
Yeah, we try to.
Although we do have the text line, so we have to balance between those two things. But yeah, that's why I keep trying to move off and now get through these texts. We want to talk about Aggie basketball.
Yes. 5253. Isn't it telling that we have a defensive coach, but defense seems to be the issue you're pointing out?
It's kind of interesting, like, because that is something that I've noticed. I can't remember if I've brought it up on the show. And I think the main problem with that is you have a defensive head coach who's a 33-year-old first-time head coach. He was brought in to fix the defense and suddenly got thrown into a crap storm with, suddenly being head coach. And I think the problem is that he's just kind of got, deer in the headlights. Like, what do I got to do? I got to learn how to be a head coach and fix the defense. And he's got injuries. And so that's why
he's got to manage time, clock, timeouts.
Yeah. So I think
he's on the headset with everybody now, not just his defensive guys.
Yeah. So I think his issue is just managing the load he has to bear, and he wasn't ready for it. And I don't want to criticize him too much just because he got thrown to the wolves. And it's why I think he just desperately needs some place to kind of restart, reset, and go do what he's good at. Because I don't think he was really given a chance to be that here at Utah State. And it sucks and it's unfortunate. And he's trying his darndest. But sometimes, you say you bit off more than you can chew. Somebody was shoving this down his throat saying, all right, bite it off.
Yeah,
and get it done.
Go. Look, if he'd be willing, I'd be willing to give him a shot as just the defensive coordinator here at Utah State. It'd be hard for him to step back from that. It'd be confusing for players. Like, you were my coach last season, the head guy. It could make it tricky.
Yeah, I think in a vacuum, I'd be okay with that. The problem is that at this point, it's just hard to forget this and move past that. It's why I say when I talk about Nate Drawling wanting a first year, like, it is very much about, his benefit,
his best interest. Yes,
because it's not that I want to throw Nate Drawling away and say, hey, I don't want you here. Because like all the interactions I've had with him, he's a fantastic guy. Likes being here in Logan.
And had a really good track record coming into Logan.
Yeah, and so like everything about him says, yeah, we want you to be a defensive coordinator. Come in, help build the defense. Turned around, it was a pretty bad New Mexico State defense. They had a ton of trouble. And look where they're at this year without Nate Dreiling. I don't know if he was the secret sauce there for their season last year, but certainly was a big impact on them winning like 10, 11 games last year.
Yeah.
So in a vacuum, Nate Dreiling would be, I think, it looked like a really good hire back then. It would be good to have him as defensive coordinator, but things have gone to crap so bad that it's just like sometimes you just need a fresh start. And that's why I say that. Not to discount Nate Dreiling, not to say that he's bad. It's just that sometimes you all just need to kind of go our separate ways and figure things out separately. Utah State getting a new head coach, maybe a largely new staff, and Nate Dreiling going on and being his best self as a defensive coordinator, and maybe once again a head coach, but hopefully not in a terrible situation.
Right, when he can prepare himself with plenty of time and ramp to be that guy.
Yeah, and with some of the lessons learned from this season. So that's why I say, best of luck to all the coaches here. It's the unfortunate reality that they're probably all going to be finding new jobs, but I think they'll all land in separate places because we've seen good things. Like Cooper Bassett is coaching these guys incredibly well. And that's why I really hope he sticks around. But who knows? They may all want to move on just to find that new role and get away from the stink of what's been this season.
Yeah, but there's 5 more games. Like, we can't just throw in the towel now and just everybody start looking for their next gig and just bide their time. There's opportunities to salvage respectability here. And it starts Saturday at Wyoming.
Yeah, I know that's something that Nate Dreiling talked about because I asked him, and we may play the clip later, but just the fact that at this point it's almost a life lesson. Like, you got to fight through it. Life's hard, and I think he said, like, it preys upon people who just give up. And I think that's incredibly true. Like, we're going to see what these guys are made of. Are they people who give up, or are they people who are going to keep fighting? They may not be winners on paper, but they can be winners in life. And don't ever give up. The bell hasn't rung. keep going, and that's where you're going to find out. Us and the media and the fans may not find out how much of a winner these guys are, but the coaches are going to know and the players are going to know.
Right, and great development for the future too, right?
Yeah.
Get a lot of young guys time. 2964, and then we got to hit a timeout. We're overdue here. Any chance of convincing Jay Hill to leave BYU? Is there a chance? Probably, but it's really slim, in my opinion.
Just weirdly skeptical of bringing on Jay Hill.
I think that ship has sailed. I think there was probably an opportunity there, and Utah State didn't take it.
Because everything on paper says he'd be a good hire, but I just have a gut feeling that it just wouldn't work for some reason. I don't know why. I'm probably just a hater there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that he would do really well here, but I think he's got a pretty good gig going right now.
Yeah, I think
he'd be making more money in a bigger league.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's doing so well at BYU may ease that weird gut feeling. Maybe it's just what I had for lunch or something like that. The fact that you always worry about if you're able to elevate yourself, but the fact that he's doing so well at BYU, I think would lend more credence of him being able to do that at Utah State. But yeah, I just feel like they're going to go in a different direction. Whether it's right or wrong, I think they're going to go in a different direction.
All right, hit a timeout here on the Full Court Press.
Still basketball.
Time for you. Let's talk about the basketball team. They had an exhibition game against Weber State, Jay Hill's old stomping grounds, and Aggie basketball team performed very well on Friday night. So for those of you who were in attendance, love to get your reactions to it. What did that exhibition game tell us about Jared Calhoun and his Utah State men's basketball team? We'll discuss next on the Full Court Press.
Spend less time at the post office. With Formax and Mint mailing systems from Les Olson IT, you can quickly, accurately, and easily process your outgoing mail and even save on postage. Fold your documents, stuff and seal your envelopes, print addresses, weigh and measure to apply proper postage, all with the click of a button. With multiple model options available, you're sure to find a Formax solution and Mint mailing device that perfectly fits your business needs.
Les Olson IT.
22 years ago, Cafe Sabor opened its doors in the historic Logan train station. This October, Cafe Sabor is celebrating their anniversary and saying thank you to everyone that has made Cafe Sabor a Cache Valley favorite. Enjoy free spinach artichoke dip, free fried ice cream, or churros when you purchase 2 entrees. A simple but delicious way to say thank you. Come celebrate all month and enjoy free spinach artichoke dip, fried ice cream, or churros as Cafe Sabor says thank you for 22 amazing years. See server for details.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Crystal Vision, they are the 4-time gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. That's because they provide personable, experienced one-on-one care. Go check them out if you need some new glasses that fit your character. They're located at 1400 North in Logan by Sportsman's Warehouse. You can also check them out online at crystalvision.com. Make sure you spell crystal with a K.
All right, so let's move on and talk about something that sparks joy, as they say. Basketball.
Yes.
It's and it was nice. You know, Friday, I was caught off guard just by the fact that, wait a minute, it's like game day. Like, there's a basketball game. Just came back from Vegas. Of course, I'd been spending like the whole week thinking about basketball because I was out of media days, talking to all the, you do like 36 interviews over the course of 2 days. Bit of a blitz there, trying to fight off all the other media, trying to talk to everybody, especially the Nevada schools. Like they have like 16 cameras hanging around them because you got the local TV channels want to talk to the 3-peat pick to do a 4-peat UNLV women's basketball. And then obviously UNLV men's basketball having some hype behind them. And even Nevada too.
Yeah.
For like obviously being, another in-state school. So, but still, on Friday, I was like, dang, it's game day. I talked to Coach Calhoun 3 times last week. Aggie Madness, media days, post-game of an exhibition. So I had a chance to meet with those guys a lot. But yeah, as far as the basketball game itself, about as much as you could have hoped for.
Very exciting. Some great action, some great plays by individuals.
Yeah. And
it's an exhibition game, but it was against an in-state opponent, which has been challenging at times for Utah State. So Weber State typically is a pretty decent basketball program. Teams year to year can be a little bit different, but they're a good basketball program generally. So that was a good win for the Utah State Aggies. And a couple of texts about basketball coming in, 2444, saying, loved watching the basketball game on Friday. The team looked outstanding. A few quick observations. Of the new players, Drake Allen looks like he could make for a nice replacement for Darius Brown. Very good passer and ball handler. Was also knocking down his shot. Not to mention that he plays great defense with quickness and length at the top of the matchup zone. Also very impressed by Akano on both ends. Speaking of the zone, I liked a lot of what I saw. We forced a lot of deflections and steals, leading to plenty of transition opportunities. Excited to hear how the team fares against Oregon.
Yeah, so I believe that's their secret scrimmage opponent. I know there's sometimes you get literal box scores from the secret scrimmage.
Right. Some schools will produce a box score. I saw San Diego State's floating around from, what was it, UCLA? Or was that Nevada who beat UCLA? Can't remember.
Got to see if Utah State, they don't have theirs on stat broadcast.
Boise State played Washington, beat Danny Sprinkle pretty soundly.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's we'll see, and we'll probably hear. Coaches are a lot more open about these secret scrimmages than they used to be. They used to not even admit who they were playing.
Right. Yep, we had one. That's it.
Yeah.
Like how we played. That's it.
I've heard Coach Calhoun mention, hey, we're playing Oregon. It's like,
yep.
they're open about it. They may not give you intimate details, but I imagine we'll hear about that. But yeah, let's go through a few more of these texts, and I'll kind of get to some of these other things, observations similar to 2444, I think.
Yeah, 8968. Let's basketball. A win over Weber is worth talking about anytime.
Yes.
5773. Ian with the windmill dunk, and I'm now officially a Fish fan. Book your tickets to the Final Four, JD.
JD getting all hyped for basketball season.
Yes, and then 9315 was Hill on Urban staff at Utah. Oh, AD does know Urban Meyer. He did coach once before.
Yeah, see if
Urban Hill on Urban staff at Utah.
See if Urban Meyer's looking for another reclamation project.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I don't think so. Not at a place like Utah State.
You can dream.
Yeah, and then all I have to say is windmill dunking was funny and cool.
I don't know if I'm reading too much into this because I saw the windmill dunk and then I looked over at Jared Calhoun, and I don't know if he was just trying to keep himself calm, but like he immediately sat down and was like, putting his hand on his chin. And I don't know if it was just, again, like keeping himself calm and collected, or if it was a windmill dunk on a fast break is a bold choice. That kind of thing. I don't know which of those it was. I did ask him about it. And honestly, when he talked about that, he talked about the importance of momentum plays.
Yeah.
And I think that's where
that's a momentum play.
Yeah. Well, like you took a fast break dunk, which is a momentum play in and of itself, and he turned it into a highlight, which really gets the crowd going. So maybe a bit of risk of maybe missing the dunk, but, obviously paying off really well. I can't remember the exact stretch of time if that sparked a run specifically, but momentum plays, that was, they had several of those, and Utah State went on a bunch of runs. Like they had 3 7-0 runs three separate 7-0 runs in the first half. And so you had some of these big plays. Ian Martinez making a couple, and I think on that play where he did the windmill dunk, he just straight up robbed a guy of the ball at the top of the arc, maybe near the free throw line. but he ends up taking it the distance. He had, other great plays. And one that I kind of latched onto in the game was, speaking of Drake Allen, a guy who with great passing vision, several potential assists that didn't become assists, but he still had like 6 of them, and hitting his shots. But there's one where he kind of got a bit of a lucky deflection. I don't know if I want to call it too lucky, but like he had his arm up and the guy basically hit him in the arm with the ball. It wasn't so much that he deflected as he had his arm there and it got hit.
Just happened to be the right place at the right time.
Yeah, so lucky. Maybe he kind of created his own luck there, but ball bounces like 20 feet in the air, and Drake Allen goes to jump up. He's pretty much alone and going up to get it, so it's clear he's going to get it. But I swear he could have really only seen Mason Falslev out of the corner of his eye, but immediately grabs it. Instead of coming down with it, and maybe looking to press it, which he had been all game. Every time he gets the ball, he's immediately turning around looking to throw an outlet pass, and he threw a lot of them, creating some open plays. But before he even comes down, he just hauls it down there for Mason Falslev. He hits a fast break layup, and probably wouldn't have gotten that layup otherwise because Mason was already tightly guarded. He had to make a bit of a contested
defense
layup.
Was closing, yeah.
But he did a fantastic job setting that up, creating 2 points by just being a little bit more proactive, which that's kind of the fine line between a guy who can sometimes get some assists and sometimes be a decent point guard and a guy who's actually creating with his passing. And that's where I think Drake Allen can be. He's going to get those comparisons to Darius Brown. We'll see if those are, worthy comparisons as the season goes along. But as far as what we saw in the one game, guy's going to be a very solid point guard in the Mountain West on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and I'll admit, I was not sure how he would transition to this level or with his team, considering he came from Southern Utah and just
Southern Utah, then UVU. I think he was at JUCO before that.
Yeah, is this really going to translate? But he's been very active, very quick, a good presence on the court. So far so good with Drake Allen. And then the mainstays. Mason Falslev didn't score a ton, but he filled up the stat sheet, right? 7 points, 3 steals. He had
5 rebounds and 5 assists.
5 assists, 6 rebounds. Yeah. He was doing a lot of things, and all those were defensive rebounds from Mason. So it's always great when your guards grab a lot of boards. But besides Drake Allen, looking at some of the newcomers, because that's really what these exhibitions are for, is who are these new guys and how are they going to fit in and what kind of role are they going to play? And as one of the texters said, Dexter Ocano playing very well and doing things on a couple different spots on the floor, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, Ocano is going to be an incredibly important player. May not start all year, but incredibly important in the sense that he's going to be playing a lot of the 4, I think. Maybe some of the 3 like small 4, but I think a lot of the 4 where he's going to have to be that guy. Like when they play smaller opponents, they're going to want to play him at the 4, him or Tucker Anderson. And Tucker Anderson just had an unfortunate game shooting wise. Like that dude's a sniper, and he somehow managed to go 0 for 8. Like I don't know what parallel universe we're living in where we got the 0 for 8 Tucker Anderson, but I think he's going to bounce back from that. And he may end up being a lot. You remember Taylor Funk is the guy who shot really well from 3. He had 5 games where he went 1 of 5. That happens to a lot of 3-point shooters.
Right. Some nights you're just cold.
So that's just the way it's going to be there. I think Tucker Anderson will bounce back fine. But yeah, with Dexter Ocano, it's not going to be so much about Dexter Ocano's shooting. He did have a couple of pretty important 3-point shots early in that game where Weber was kind of ahead of the Aggies and had some momentum, and Ocano hit a couple of 3-pointers. In a really weird shot because he has almost a sidewinder spin on the ball when he shoots it. But both of them, or at least his first 2 went in. I think he ended up going 2 for 4. But he made those shots, and they were important shots at the time, and that helped build some momentum. And then, he was good on defense, had some impact on, I think he ended up with 10 points. So he made some of those kind of scrappy plays where stat sheet-wise, he's not going to be a star for this team, but I think he's going to be incredibly important as far as how versatile can he be when playing a position where he's like a 6'6", 6'7". I forget his exact height, somewhere in the 6'5", 6'7" range. Maybe a little short for a power forward, but he's going to have to play that a lot given the makeup of this roster and with how many teams play small. And so he's going to have a very important role. Definitely keep an eye on what Dexter Ocano does for this team.
6'5" for Dexter Ocano.
6'5", yeah. So bit short for a guy who may end up playing a lot of power forward, but that's just kind of the nature of the game where so many colleges are playing like 3 or 4 guard lineups that they're going to need him to be able to match up against that. And sometimes match up against power forwards that are bigger than him. And he's going to have to show that versatility because, I think this season could go a lot of the way that Dexter Cano goes. Utah
State has an embarrassment of riches for the guard line or the wing players.
Just perimeter talent in general.
Perimeter talent, yeah. So some of the bigger questions for me for the season is what can they do to protect the rim, but also kind of that dunk position. Do they have guys that can do well in the low post when necessary? What did you see there, particularly Abin Gadarazzi, Isaac Davis? Some of your bigger guys are going to play down low in that position. And Isaac Johnson at times slides down into that role as well.
Yeah, so Isaac Johnson basically playing power forward, essentially, where Abin Gadarazzi, starting center, at least that's what it seems to be. They started the Twin Towers lineups. And then Isaac Davis would come in. He'd play the 5. Even Carson Templin would probably, in a lineup card, be the center instead of Isaac Johnson. So your center depth chart is essentially Abin Gadarazzi, Isaac Davis, and then like Carson Templin, and then maybe Isaac Johnson. He didn't spend a whole lot of time out there when Gadarazzi wasn't. But yeah, the thing is, as far as rim protection, I think the Aggies will be fine because they have enough length to bother teams. They don't have the guys who are maybe talented enough to rack up a ton of blocked shots. And that's not necessarily like necessary to have the guys that block the shots because the important thing is you force the guy to miss. If you're good enough to block it, then yeah, that's a guaranteed miss. But if you're good enough positioning wise and you don't give up the deep post position or easy looks, then you can force guys to miss tough contested shots. And the important thing at that point is getting the rebound. And that's where I worry a little bit because they were getting outworked for those boards early against Weber State. It took them a couple of minutes, like 2 or 3 or 4 minutes to get a defensive rebound. And that was pretty worrying. They did get better. They got a lot better, I should say. And it wasn't Gadarazzi, it wasn't Isaac Davis, and not even necessarily Carson Templin, but it was Isaac Johnson who started coming through with some of those where he's just taller and longer than everybody, so just go up there and get it. And he started doing that. I mean, he had like 3 offensive rebounds as well, but he had several contested defensive rebounds. And I think Gadarazzi is going to have to do that as well. So that's the thing I'm going to be looking for. I think the Aggies have a good enough defense that they're going to force enough misses at the rim. Are they going to get tons of blocked shots? Maybe not. But they'll force misses either in the short mid-range. That sounds like an oxymoron. Just the mid-range in general. Or on three-pointers and even around the basket. They'll be talented enough to do that, even if they aren't getting all the fancy defensive stats like blocks. It's going to be about rebounding. And it was a concern for part of the game and a little bit better. But even then, Weber wasn't like this big, super strong team. So that's where I'm going to worry in games like against San Diego State and, Wyoming. They're looking to play really physical this year. So that's the thing I'm going to worry about most on defense because everything about their like matchup zone, I liked what I saw. A few rough edges. They started out there like kind of pushing each other around saying, you need to be here and you need to be there. Took them a second to get settled in, but then they were fine. But they need to get this rebounding down, especially against even better teams. That's the thing that kind of worries me the most, and we're going to see how that goes.
5-3-3-8, then we got to hit a timeout. Don't forget, Aggie fans, Calhoun promised us a national championship.
There you go.
Nice. Yes.
Book your Final Four tickets.
That's right. All right. Time out here in the Full Court Press. A lot more of texts that we'll get through. Your reactions to Utah State men's basketball team and their exhibition win over Weber State on Friday. We'll continue the discussion next here on the Full Court Press.
Elements has delicious lunch specials. Soup, salad, and bread for just $10 is tasty and quick. Elements lunch menu is full of scrumptious items. Wood-fired pizzas are an excellent choice that include barbecue chicken and the bee's knees. The fresh battered halibut fish and chips with seasoned fries is always a hit. And don't forget the fan favorite, Chipotle fried chicken sandwich. Thursdays, enjoy Elements house-made smoked brisket, casual or professional. Open Monday through Thursday, 11:30 to 8 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 to 9. Visit theelementsrestaurant.com for reservations.
Clean it up and get it out before the snow flies. Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
Retirement. Are you ready? Adams Wealth Advisors specializes in preparing you for a secure retirement. There's no reason to feel frustrated. The team at Adams Wealth will create a personalized plan that includes timing of retirement, reliable income sources, Social Security, estate planning, and more. Adams Wealth Advisors has a team of CPA, certified financial planners, Social Security experts to help you plan and retire with confidence. Call today, 752-1702, or visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com. Your dream retirement starts here.
Disasters don't wait for a convenient time. When the unexpected strikes, call the trusted team at Blue Sky. Remember, Blue Sky is that same great ARS team you know and trust.
This is Tom with Blue Sky Restoration. When disaster strikes, whether it's a flood, fire, mold damage, or an unforeseen accident, Blue Sky will clean up, repair, and restore your home or business like it was before. No disaster is too big or too small. For all your restoration needs, you can trust our Blue Sky team.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker. Love to have you part of the show as well. 435-339-0321. By the way, congratulations to the Mountain Crest girls soccer team beating Green Canyon 2-1 in the semifinals earlier today. Timpanogos beating Snow Canyon 1-0. So it'll be Mountain Crest versus Timpanogos in the championship game on Friday down in Harriman, the Zions Bank Stadium, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
So best of luck to Mountain Crest Mustangs going for yet another girls soccer championship.
Yeah, they just never seem to stay down. They keep coming back. It was a bit of a down year last year. I say down year in the sense that they didn't win a title because that's what qualifies as a down year for Mountain Crest girls soccer.
Apparently, yes.
But yeah, back at it again.
A couple more texts to get through. 5662. I feel Lacano is this year's Diogo Brito. Very important to the success of the team.
I think that's a fair take.
That's not a bad comparison.
And similar in a lot of ways to their role. Like Diego Brito didn't really fill up the stat sheet, shoot super high efficiency numbers, but he was incredibly important for a lot of reasons that are hard to explain without watching him play.
Just a lot of hustle plays on the floor that just helped the team come together. 5773. Let's see. Second unit came in and was a spark defensively. Did Jason say the same thing?
I did, yeah, because the starters struggled. I think they did the whole hockey lineup change essentially, and I think that sparked an initial run. Like you had Dayton Albury. Like I don't know how much stats he put up, but he felt like he was the reason Utah State got out and running in that first half. Like Drake Allen did well, but then Dexter Cano came in and all right, we're going to make things happen. He was incredible on defense. Got a 5-second call on the opposing point guard because he pinned him, forced him to try and pivot around with the ball. And Dexter Connor was right in his face, hands up, didn't let him go anywhere. And that was just one of the many hustle plays. And other guys just making tons of great plays. When Carson Templin came in, he came in as a third string power forward / center. He played amazing and with great hustle. So yeah, I definitely saw the same thing with that second unit. Now the first unit came back in and they carried on that when they got their kind of second crack at it. But that game really got kicked off when the Aggies bench unit came in and started kicking butt.
Yeah, and Calhoun after the game pretty much said, look, I can easily go 10 guys deep with this roster.
Yeah, and I actually am more inclined to believe Coach Calhoun than I am other coaches because, I've talked about how we see it every year. Everyone says, we can go 10, 12 deep. And I'm like, yeah, but you're going to be 7
really
deep.
Only play 7, yeah.
This year, I keep forgetting the exact number, but it's 9 or 10 guys on this team who were full-time starters last year. Tucker Anderson came off the bench, Dexter O'Connell off the bench, Dayton Albury. Several of these guys were full-time starters last year, and they're coming off the bench. They're the 7th or 8th player, nominally speaking, and they were full-time starters, and that's what Calhoun has to work with. You work with in terms of depth. So I think this team is actually going to have depth. I'm going to buy in, which means a lot because, again, I'm the guy who's usually skeptical about going 10, 12 deep. And I'm a little more bought into that fact.
Yeah, 5374 texting in. Rebounding is going to be a concern, I think.
Yeah, and I went over that where, I think they don't really have a dominant defensive rebounder. Isaac Johnson at times is a good defensive rebounder, but he needs to get a little bit better at that. Abin Gadarazzi, his biggest talent, he got good rebounding numbers, but a lot of those were offensive rebounds. Is he an elite defensive rebounder? That's what we got to see. Can the guards come in and scoop a bunch of those rebounds? Mason Falslev and Ian Martinez, can they do that? So that's going to be a big thing, is boxing out and not letting guys get in there and fight for offensive rebounds. So we're going to need to see the Aggies do that. And that was a concern before the game, and it cropped up during the game, and so it's going to continue being a concern until we stop seeing it happen.
2444, I think Templin outplayed Davis and Gadarazzi. Lots of hustle plays and defended well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Templin was better than both of those guys.
9315, say if football is bad, then basketball should be good. Not many schools good at both at the same times. Am I wrong?
Yeah, the Aggies they were both good in 2018, but other than that, there's generally been the rule of football bad or basketball. There's that kind of inverse relationship.
Yeah,
seemingly.
well, football,
at least that's the conventional wisdom.
Football hasn't been bad the last few years. Basketball has definitely been good.
Just mediocre.
It's been mediocre. Yeah. So, I don't know that it's an exact correlation.
So that means that Utah State basketball is going to be elite.
It's going to be great.
That's what we're getting from Eric here.
That's what's happening, yes. All right, I got to take another timeout. We'll continue with the Region 11 4A football. The playoffs are now set, so we'll tell you who's playing where and who's advancing, who isn't, and who gets to host, who gets a first week bye. That's next on the Full Court Press.
The convenience and security a Generac backup generator can bring is unmatched. Golden Spike Electric is your local source for Generac sales and service. Act now, and for a short time, take advantage of Generac's free 7-year warranty. Get yours today at Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Generac keeps you in control. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
This is Brent Wallace with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account, and if you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Need a reliable partner for your medical needs? Look no further than Triton Medical and Transportation. We offer top quality medical soft goods right here in your community. From incontinence supplies and oxygen needs to medical transportation. Whatever you need to stay comfortable and healthy, we've got you covered. Trust Triton Medical and Transportation, caring for our community with every step, every mile. Call us today at 435-557-6687 or visit us online at mytritonsupply.com. Triton Medical and Transportation, because your help matters.
Since 1896, couples throughout Utah have shopped S.E. Needham Jewelers for their diamond engagement ring. We offer our integrity price guarantee on a beautiful selection of unique, high-quality diamond engagement rings. Gals, you'll love our rings, and guys, you'll love our prices. We price our diamonds at internet pricing. Review the web and come see, hands-on, our beautiful selection. Shop and compare. Get S.E. Needham quality at internet pricing, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Franson, Jason Walker. Hey, thank you to you, our audience, our listeners. Lots of texts coming in today from a lot of different numbers. Always love interacting with you guys in real time. You know, getting away from time to time is nice, but it's always fun to come back. Certainly wish the circumstances from Saturday were different, but it's still fun to interact with others that are watching the things that we are, and to be able to feel the emotion and interact in real time as we're trying to make sense of a lot of these things.
Yeah, it makes it feel a lot more like a community thing as opposed to two guys yelling into a mic. It's having a conversation.
Some corner room.
Yeah, it's having a conversation, sharing our analysis. Obviously,
getting yours too.
Yeah, getting analysis from the texters, agreeing on a lot of things, disagreeing on some things, but that's every sports discussion. There's agreements and disagreements. So
that's what makes this job fun.
Yeah, it's why we love the text line and getting those interactions.
Quickly, in our last couple of minutes, just want to let you know about the 4A football playoffs. The bracket has been set. The final RPI was released Saturday morning. And Ridgeline finishes as number 1, the only undefeated team in 4A. And so they're the number 1 team. They get a bye this week. They will face the winner of Hurricane and Cedar. So a rematch down in southern Utah. The next highest team out of the region is Green Canyon, who came in at number 6. And the Wolves will face the winner of Uinta and Mountain View. Then there's Skyview at number 7. They'll face the winner of Mountain Crest and Westfield, another region rematch.
We got a Region 11 pocket there.
Yes, we do. So the Ridgeline, Green Canyon, and Skyview all earn a first-round bye. Mountain Crest will face Westfield in a rematch, and Mountain Crest took care of Westfield
pretty handily
last time they met. And so Mountain Crest is at number 10. So they were close but didn't quite make the cutoff there. For that first round bye. The other team out of the region that advanced is Bear River, coming in at number 21. They have to hit the road to take on number 12 Timpanogos. And one team did not make the field. That's the Logan High Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think they cut it off at 24 teams out of the, was it 27 or 29? I forget the exact number of 4A teams. And yeah, Logan just not finishing the season very strong. If they'd gotten that win over Mountain Crest, where they were so close, maybe they would have snuck into the playoffs. But unfortunately, Logan's season ending with that loss to Bear River. Tough first year there for Nate Butts, but I said it all year. Believe in what he's trying to do there to build that program. And now looking forward to next year, saying goodbye to a very good senior class, some very good players there. We talked about Reed Olson, but he's not the only senior that was out there making plays and doing very well in a lot of ways. But looking toward the future for the Grizzlies.
Yeah. So Friday, 3 teams from the region in action, 2 from Cache Valley area, our neck of the woods, if you want to say. Bear River. So they'll be playing Friday at Timpanogos. We'll have full play-by-play and video on Cache Valley Daily. And then Mountain Crest hosting Westfield. Again, the tentative times for these are 6 o'clock. So we need to get some confirmations if games will be at 7 or if they're going to stay at 6. We'll let you know. And then the following week, November 1st, is the second round with a number of these teams hosting. And we'll see a Region 11 rematch no matter what in Smithfield. And then we're seeing if Bear River can advance and move on. If they do, they have to travel to Park City to face the number 5 team in the state.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with Region 11 football. The other football, we already mentioned, Mountain Crest girls soccer winning in their semifinal game. They advance to the championship game. They'll face Timpanogos also on Friday. Also, quick text here from 2444. I do think that there was some fair concern about rebounding, but I actually thought that the unit where Isaac Johnson and Gadarazzi were on the floor together was effective and can provide a matchup problem for opposing teams.
That is a potentially huge matchup problem. I think, well, again, it's the offense I like. The defense, they got to see. And again, if they can rebound, if those two can rebound, they'll be incredibly deadly. Because they'll have, as I said, that's the poster child of like enough length to bother teams. Maybe not block shots, but bother teams and then clean up the rebound. On offense, like the number of times Drake Allen is going to give a wide open shot for Isaac Johnson just by rejecting a screen is kind of ridiculous. But I know we're up against the end of the show here.
Yeah, a lot of fun to see the basketball team in action on Friday. Many more of those to come in the coming weeks. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
The NFL. Touchdown! On Sports Talk Radio.
I've been waiting a long time, for this moment.
KLGN Logan.